Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Mr. Nuardi MED as my examiner. Okay, before I start my presentation, let me introduce myself. I am Karin Meilian and my supervisor is Mem Harum Nastasia MPD. Okay, now I would like to present my research proposal entitled The Use of Fishbone Diagram Strategy to Improve Students' Writing Skill of Analytical Exposition Text at State Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru. Okay, we come to the chapter 1 in the background. In learning English, the students must understand the 4 of language skills, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. As one of English language skills, writing is important to be learned by students. Writing is a form of written communication in which a writer conveys information to the reader. Brown and Lee 2015 state that writing is the product of thinking, drafting, and revising procedures that require specialized skills. But sometimes it makes writing process so long and complex to do. In writing, students should understand several components in order to enhance writing skill, such as content, grammar, form, style, and mechanic, and others. For some students, writing is difficult because their English proficiency still lack. Based on the preliminary study of the researcher after conducting observations and interviews with English teachers who teach at the 11 students of Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru, the researcher found that some students are still low in writing skill, and some students assume that writing is difficult because several factors. So, the researcher tries to implement Fishbone diagram strategy to improve students' writing skill. By this applying strategy, it is expected that the students can be more easily develop ideas in writing and students' writing skill can be improved. From the background, the researcher found several identification of the problem. The first is the students' writing skill is still low. The second is the students have difficulty in developing ideas in writing. The third is the students have difficulty in translating Indonesian into English. The fourth is the students still make grammatical errors in writing. And the last is the students have difficulty in making sentences because lack of vocabulary. Okay, from the several identification, we must limit of the problem to focus on the topic of this research. Limitation of the problem in this research on students who still have difficulties to develop ideas in writing analytical exposition text. The researcher will use Fishbone diagram strategy to improve students' writing analytical exposition text. In this research, there are 3 formulations of the problem. The first is, how is the student's writing skill of analytical exposition text before being taught by using Fishbone diagram strategy to the 11th grade students of Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru. The second is, how is students' writing skill of analytical exposition text after being taught by using Fishbone diagram strategy to the 11th grade students of Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru. And the last is there any significant difference in the students' writing skill of analytical exposition text before and after being taught by using Fishbone diagram strategy to the 11th grade students of Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru? Okay, and there are 3 objectives of the research. The first is to find out the students' writing skill of analytical exposition before being taught by using Fishbone diagram strategy at the 11th grade students of Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru. The second is to find out the students' writing skill of analytical exposition text after being taught by using Fishbone diagram strategy at the 11th grade students of Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru. And the last, to Find out the significant difference of the student's writing skill of analytical exposition text before and after being taught by using Fishbone diagram strategy at the 11th grade students of senior high school 15 Pekanbaru. And then definition of the term. There are 3 points. The first is writing. Brown and Lee 2015 state that writing is the product of thinking, drafting, and revising procedures that require specialized skills. The second, analytical exposition text. Erwan et al. 2018 defines analytical exposition text is a text that contains that alter opinions about an issue or phenomenon that occurs around the environment. And the last, Fishbone diagram. The Fishbone diagram was first developed by Dr. Koharu Ishikawa in 1976, and Ardianto et al. 2020 defines the Fishbone diagram is a tool for analyzing and exploring relation between a cause and an effect or a problem. Okay, next we come to the chapter 2 about literature review. The first is about theoretical framework. In this theoretical, there are writing, analytical exposition, and then Fishbone diagram. Okay, in writing, there are 5 items. The first is definition of writing, purposes of writing, aspects of writing, process of writing, and then assessment of writing. The theory that I took from Brown and Lee 2015, Richard 2004, Abdallah 2015, Jacobs 1981, Harmer 2004, and then Haggis 2003. Okay, in analytical exposition, there are 3 items. The first, definition of analytical exposition text, generic structure of analytical exposition text, and then language features of analytical exposition text. The theory that I took from Erwan et al. 2015, Dergayasa 2016, and Garot and Wignall 1994. Okay, next about Fishbone diagram strategy. In this Fishbone diagram, there are 4 items. The first, definition of Fishbone diagram strategy, benefits of Fishbone diagram strategy, procedure in applying a Fishbone diagram strategy, and then advantages and disadvantages of Fishbone diagram strategy. The theory that I took from Dale 2003, Akdenis 2016, Ardianto et al. 2020, Batu et al. 2020, and Fauzia 2022. And then Widiahning 2018, Daniel 2012, Dale 2003, and then Koripadu et al. 2004, and the last Kasim, Erdiana, and Aulia 2021. Okay, we come to the relevant research. In this research, there are 3 relevant research. The first from M. Akib Sitompul 2018, Indri Sevianti 2019, and then Nurfa Mail Sylvia Farida 2020. Okay, next about operational concept. To avoid misunderstanding in this study, the researcher will follow the operational concept as a guide. This study is designed into 2 variables, independent and dependent variables. The Fishbone diagram strategy as an independent variable, and students' writing skill of analytical exposition text as dependent variable. Okay, next about hypothesis. In this study, there are 2 hypotheses. There are null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis is there is no significant difference of using Fishbone diagram strategy toward students' writing skill of analytical exposition text at the 11th grade students of senior high school 15 Pekanbaru. Alternative hypothesis is there is a significant difference of using Fishbone diagram strategy toward students' writing skill of analytical exposition text at the 11th grade students of senior high school 15 Pekanbaru. Okay, next we come to the chapter 3, about research methodology. In this study, the researcher will use quasi-experimental design. According to Creswell 2012, in quasi-experimental, the researchers use a control and experimental group but randomly assign participants to the treatment group. Okay, next about time and location. This research will be conducted in September 2022 at Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru. It is located at Cipta Karya Street, Kilometer 3, Tampan, Pekanbaru, Riau. Subject and object. The subject of this research is the 11th grade students of Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru. And the object of this research is the use of Fishbone diagram strategy to improve students' writing skill of analytical exposition text, population, and sample. The population of this research is the 11th grade students of Senior High School 15 Pekanbaru. The 11th grade students, there are 4 classes: 11 Science 1, 11 Science 2, 11 Science 3, 11 Science 4. And for sample, the researcher will use cluster random sampling. The sample of this research that will be 11 Science 3 as experimental group and 11 Science 4 as control group. Technique of collecting data. In this study, the researcher will use a test to see students' writing skill of analytical exposition text. There are 3 procedures of collecting data. The first is pre-test, the second is treatment, and the last post-test. Okay, about technique data of analysis. This research, the data will be analyzed and calculated using the t-test through SPSS software. There are several procedures in the process, such as normality, homogeneity, and hypothesis testing. Okay, that's all for me. Sorry for my weaknesses and the last. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.